Well, good afternoon as we're sitting here at LTV on Wednesday early afternoon, April 10th, year 2024, here at the Hello Hello Show. My name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Hello Show that's been on there since 1980. Of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Doherty. And we have, of course, Francis Ann with her tremendous amount of support and sharing the same vision and level of dedication with Fraser Dougherty. And of course, the help of many of you out there that joined as a team to erect this wonderful concept and one wonderful facility that we have here in Wainscott, New York. And as I mentioned, this show has been on the air for 4.5 decades, I would say. And so in itself, it's when I think back, I realize that I guess, show by show, morning by morning, day by day, and this kind of accumulation. And by the way, forgive my hairdo. This I didn't have the time to tidy up myself, but I am getting together here with the show that we're doing for Frank Sofo. He passed away about, I guess, 2 or 3 months ago. A wonderful artist and person, and a prolific artist. We have about 35 pieces of his work here on display for a show that's called Sofo, and it's going to be up for view until May 6th, which is Monday. So, and then we have the opening, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's April 27th. It's a Saturday from 3 to 6. And so many other things that actually come our way by way of showing art, presenting art, doing uh, the level of seriousness. 26 years showing artists art in displays here. Very modest, to say the least. What we have here is modest. We just have the corridors, and we kind of look at the walls, and we say, how can we occupy these walls with the wonderful attempt of individuals out there to create and to paint and to sculpt and to. We've done it all. We've been a part of many artists in this community, and some of them outside of our community. So that's like goes without saying that there is a level of satisfaction and joy and and I don't know, accepting this concept at face value to appreciate it for what it is, and that's like in itself a pleasant feeling, and especially when you have it available at your disposal, just there, kind of waiting for you to live through it, to brush against it, to walk alongside it, and so much more. I think that the as I many times in the past addressed the facts related to the issue that speaks for that special drive that one has to create, to paint, to write, to play a musical instrument, and for the most part, really huge part of the of the world out there. It really is not so quite sure that they're capable to be a part of a certain outfit, that they're capable or allowed to dream or to hope, and above all, to be ready to find themselves dedicated to the process and giving it most of what they can give it, and enjoying with that kind of level of modesty and simplicity, yet introduce profoundness. I remember that in the early stages of me standing in front of a canvas, let's just say that, let's say year 2000, 24 years ago, yeah, I would stand in front of the canvas. I would be, I was a completely different person. I was governed by so many limitations that you can only find out about when you actually make a step and engage in the process itself, meaning you introduce yourself to the zone of fire. You introduce yourself to the first lines where all the hazardous activities taking place, and all you're trying to do is paint a painting. All you're trying to do is really interpret and reflect a certain honest thought that goes through your mind, and you want to actualize it by way of writing a poem or painting a painting, or playing music. um I I think that I was paying attention to the changes that took place. um I was paying attention with attention, because I always knew that once I decipher my achievements, so to speak, and catalogize them, um, you it can always be considered as a destination where one can fall back into, instead of kind of, even in the process of marching forward, of pushing ahead, and uh, and giving it a sense of priority, and emphasizing its level of importance. It must happen. It needs to happen. And so, to my amazement, I realized that actually, in the very process of trying to get rid of it, to do away with it, I'm actually securing it as a potential location for getting back to uh, second guessing that which is already been decided and accepted fully. But tricky. It's a tricky concept that can be taken very simply and very straightforwardly, because as an artist, you know that once you kind of pick up the brush and face the canvas is like it is silent. You don't hear voices. You don't feel resistance. You don't witness being pushed away. You're not addressed uh, uh, as someone who fails. You're not intimidated by factors that can, that can bring pain to you and confusion, and luckily, let's just say 25 years ago, I was still aware of the fact that I can notice certain things, and I can understand so instantly so much about them. Things that are kind of showing up, maybe from a predictable source or from just out of nowhere, but they're just showing up. And you know all too well that it doesn't matter what shows up. You have to address it. It cannot just linger and stay around and turn in circles. It's gonna it's gonna have to continue on its merry journey, and we have to sometimes give it an encouragement, a push, a reason for this exit to being expediting that process. And then you know that we actually this is how being in the big league feels. This is how it feels. So all the recollection, all the assumptions, all the guessing, suddenly you have something to have as a very reliable point of reference, and then you realize, actually, yeah, well, maybe I was very far away from really understanding or being able to describe what it is or how it feels. And then to the moment now that I just kind of had an encounter for real, and though it felt as it was described that we ought to expect it to, still the ramifications and the thereforeness of it all is it has a mind of its own. It's almost like you want to say to yourself, well, we're crossing that line that leads us to a breakthrough, and but then we're becoming very vague. We don't quite know what to predict or not. We can't even say that everything, no matter what it will be of a good nature, of a positive demeanor. So so there's some scary aspects to it, but of course you roll with the massive second chakra of that whole vehicle that wants to do nothing but push the center forward and let the rest of that composition follow and be dragged into it. Well, and it's funny how sometimes when you think of being dragged, it doesn't really sound good, but being dragged by this um, uh, spectacular um, uh, device that can show emotions also. I mean, it's like a little too good to be true almost. And then you realize it, and you are reminded even more so over and over again. And if you keep to your basic knowledge and repeat it like a like a robot, this is guaranteeing you longevity, like guaranteeing you a high level of probability of surviving, like basic survival. And that's a lot, really, if you think about it. There's always like, you say, I hope I don't need to use it, but if I need to use it, it's there anyway. I don't have to like take it out of the closet or a box or look for it or use a lock to unlock something to get it out. It's already a part of this outfit called my life, your life, our life. And though for the longest time you weren't quite convinced that you understand why certain things happen and why we have to go through certain things, and maybe go through a lot of confusion and a lot of situations where you feel like, I got some questions here. I wonder if someone can answer me. It's like, wait a second now. Though you understand the composition, though you understand what is happening in front of your eyes, you don't quite understand, where does it really come from? Why is it the way it is? And why should we be expecting that something like this will uh, be a given part of our lives and who we are? You know, a part of the fabric that tells us our story. So you're accumulating the that's emotional and spiritual safe deposit box pretty full. You keep it with stuff that is in abundance. If you need some mental help, some you know or automatic therapy, it's available and it's accurate and it's pinpointed. Just say the word. It's not really artificial intelligence. It's um, um, intelligent intelligence, and uh, you get to have the option to place your mind, to quote uh, your assumption, your prediction. uh, there will be large groups of people who would love to listen to people like you, or for that sake, to whichever voice is coming across the waves. So you realize that you're actually witnessing the results of the attitude that you chose to travel on. And you realize, I feel lighter. I feel more kind of airy. I feel like my immediate space is more of kind of roomy and less strenuous. And there's something that just tells me in more ways than one to just not do anything other than what I'm already doing. chilling sometimes to be educated how to consider chilling as a nice effective tool. And if you think about it, like in America, the word chilling is, I love the word chilling. When I first came to this country, I said, that's a cool chilling word. So chilling was really, as a poet, I can write 100 poems about chilling. Easy, I promise you, I can do that. Maybe I should start doing it, chilling. But anyway, and then I thought that certain things happen to us, like if you think about the 9/11. Um, I remember that until then I realized that I felt like after 9/11 that we lost our reason to chill without any special reason. Before that, I felt like chilling is a part of the culture. You don't need to excuse yourself because you just want to do a lot, although you don't want to do anything, and consider it chilling, and that's just fine, and no one can stop you. I thought that was wonderful. Um, and suddenly I felt like it was gone. I felt like this kind of intensity, like what people are going to come here and do this to us, and so no, we're not going to lose our minds here. We're not going to let that skeleton of coherence and compositions of virtues that are scientifically embedded into one another, guaranteeing a long, hassle-free, obstacle-free process, journey, route, passage through the very now of the early steps of the future. Fantastic, called for, respected, anticipated, justified, and you see where I'm going with this, because it's just the and then you find yourself creating what you want to create, and you find yourself actually feeling happy about not only the fact that you create and you're like creative and you like create, you're an artist, but also that you're feeling good about it. You're feeling like that's good. That's what you want to do. It makes you feel like uh, you got what it takes to participate, and not only the process itself, but the ingredients involved in the process nodding to you that you can start betting. If it's a market, you can start betting. You're good to go. And then you realize, okay, so what is the interpretation of that self once you kind of let it go loose? And even though it comes back every time, you don't quite able to figure out whether it's the same thing that left that came back, or in the same amount of the contents, the proportions, all this. So we take it for granted because we should know better as artists, because I know many of them, and people treasure their time, even if they don't like, if they're not prolific or they're not like, but they create something always. And they they don't really feel like they need to go through the same processes of self-assurance and of finding yourself in situations that you keep on telling yourself, but wait, listen, I have just created this myself. Suddenly there's a new burden, a new obstacle, a new realization, a new awareness. Some of it is potentially destructive, and you could do without. And then you realize, yes, of course I could do without. I could do without completely. And then you realize you have to become intimate with this realization in order to be able to implement it. Intimate for implement. With implement, I have to write it down. Intimate and implement. Okay. So, uh, and you starting to make friends with a concept that is almost like the untouchable. And there's a level of certainty that is so potent that sometimes you kind of are reluctant from using it because certain things you say, not only why should I, but who am I to? Why should I? Who am I to decide that I'm just gonna try and decipher it in my own limited, non-existing capability and pretend that in the name of art, even complete failure that you don't even believe, even you never believed in the word failure, or that it should even have any justification to exist or to be used. Uh, but in the same token, accepting it with a straight face once it shows up at your doorstep, because you're the established veteran of the concept that makes you repeat that process of becoming a veteran all over again all your life. And humility comes with the territory, and decency is being kind of beefed up and fortified, and common sense highly, highly suggested and recommended, and just tranquility won't hurt at all. And yes, passion in any which way you decide to use it, even if you decide to use it in a way that annoys a lot of people, those who tell you, why are you shouting? And you used to say, but I'm not shouting. This is how I speak. Well, but it sounds like you're shouting to me and all. And then you just say, fine, whatever it sounds to you. Why should I know so much about it anyway? So you relieve the tension by putting it on hold, because you know that at some point it does escape the cage and it just wanders through all the potential achievements of temporary freedom a burst of temporary freedom can do. So, yeah, and in addition to this, you also suddenly realize that the, the qualities of a I don't know if I should use the word composer, more like a how about like a conducting professor, a, 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 a conducting composer, a conductor composer, a composer conductor, and then there's just a um, of course, especially when you feel like you are breaking through and you can kind of are able to rationalize the moment when it really happens, that breakthrough, the interpretation of all this new stuff is available. It's live. You can see there's a whole channel. You can see if you have that attitude in place, you will always have this wheel moving. So you can see it either a second before or a second after. Now, and and it's um, the timing is so important because it teaches you about, okay, this is your material. This is the material that you have achieved by hard work, by resolve, by dedication, by patience. This is the approach. This is your technique. This is your plan. This is your approach. This is your attitude. This is your hands-on applications of any medium and all mediums possible that by nature inevitably are considered as forever, as eternal, as mighty, as profound and durable, as you know, super durable in a sweet way, kind of thing. Keeping a straight face, helping you adapt and acquire the tools to make it happen for you. That when you want to kind of pause or put it on hold, that it will feel natural, not only be natural, feel natural. So you realize that the that you have to prepare yourself that all this goodness suddenly will open its itself in your face. You know, this is like the some kind of a positive avalanche that's gonna crush you anyway, because that's what avalanches do. They bury you alive. So, uh, so an avalanche of goodness is no different. It will bury you alive. So, but always you realize that adapting this basic attitude of listen, there is a great, huge desire to bypass um, um, clicheism, to try to avoid as much as possible that this 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 ability to be adamant about adamantly and that and 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 then bring it back home to be stored because it's a valuable tool. It's just you have to do that process of cleansing and being filtered and filtered into cleansing, cleansed into filtering, and an ongoing loop of self purifying. When I hate to say purifying, other self draining, um, uh, conservative, go all the way from the weirdness of that aspect of Dadaism into the kind of common practice of impressionism and the immaculately colorful, worryless, abstract expressionism, and of course you spend a little more time in the concept of modernism forming an attitude and and breaking the news to you that you cannot get anywhere unless you get through it, which is something that you do as soon as possible. See you on the other side. So I did experience the other day in my studio, and that's kind of like a loop that can give you a sense of I don't know. It's like yeah, you feel exuberant, you feel excited, you feel fulfilled, you feel and uh, yeah, you feel the positive impact that whatever it is that the things that you do that you understand, those that you understand, those that you don't understand, but you know there's a clear indication what it does to you and what the way you feel suggests that it's actually some good stuff and it's happening constantly. It doesn't stop. Sometimes more, sometimes less, but it's always on the this way. So the other day in the studio, I looked at this miserable piece of mind that I painted and I painted and painted and I added and I layered and I painted and I revealed in order to hide and hid in order to reveal and back and forth and back and forth. And so many times I looked at her and I said, this is so ready to go. This is so ready to go. Only to find myself yeah, I don't like to use the word possessed or over the top or exaggerating or with vengeance, or whatever it is that. But it was a a a the desire to fulfill. And there's so many things that you need to kind of insert and inject the right amount into. And then you feel like this vessel, whatever it's kind of vessel, whatever the implications of it, just kind of keep it stable. And you kind of preempting that whole concept. So you make sure it's balanced. You make sure that enough of what it takes for most scenarios. Yes, of course, there's scenarios that you cannot swim around it. It will take you down, and that's it. And it will be like a happy ending. It will be an ending. It will be something ending something. You know. So that is a part of the awareness also. So in 1999, I remember I showed here at Studio 3 at LTV when it was still kind of in the raw aspect of it. It was the same public access as we know today. Today it's cleaner, faster, you know, and more kind of prolific, more inclusive, more, so many. But then in 1999, I took the shows that I had from 1997, 98, and I created something in 99 a little bit, and I called it Two Worlds Plus. And I remember that I I had so many doubts. The studio was big. I had some large scale, but I had no knowledge. No knowledge. I didn't know what it meant that I was where I was. I didn't know the interpretation that can help me form a an ability to know, to figure out who I am through that and by that, because of it, due to that, and because and so I designed it by adding an angle of drama. And for some reason I was successful. I was able to do that. I was able to make you, when you come into the hall, to be taken by a certain aspect of an enormity of some sort, because you see this piece of art, and you figure immediately that's 12 to 14 feet, 4 like by 12, and you see it like coming down, but then you see two others that are going this way and that way in another straight line, and suddenly you realize, oh, wait a second, let me go to the small paintings. Where are they? I felt like I need to be able to control a little bit of how they're going to behave as far as the body coming into that space, and what kind of a journey is it going to take. Is it going to make a right? Is it going to make a left? Is it going to stand still more? Is it going to go straight forward because there's some sculpture in that open space? All of this. Calculating it was something that for some reason I was able to put together, and that I always wish that I can copy this and use it, and copy paste, interpret, and bring it to the zone where I can benefit from it most. And now I know it for a fact 25 years later. I know that sometimes I just need to keep my mouth shut. Not that even when my mouth is always shut, I just know I need to keep it shut, keep to myself, socialize as much as your heart desires, and that's a good thing. Keep to yourself, because you have a daily project of the kind that is important, not only to yourself, of course, to your immediate vicinity, to the world, because there are hundreds and thousands, if not millions, like you doing the same thing. And they all striving, even without knowing, to that which I have just explained. Some of them don't even know of their capabilities, don't even know that they're so close to resolutions. They don't know. They don't know enough in order to know where they are, or at least where they are precisely, which makes the whole difference because, of course, um, a sigh of relief, because that painting, and I said to myself, look at this beauty here. And it just got so much that was that will ferment and and penetrate and introduce itself to the sun and to the water and to the oxygen and to the humidity and to the sounds and to live up to what it is that you were successful in communicating with. What kind of information did you give? What is it that people are now uh, are to expect from you? You need to know what they know because they already know what it is that is expected of them, especially after they place their opinion about so many things. So you say, "Yeah, you're partners, guys," and it's all like a loop. This loop is so vital. It takes you out, it brings you back in. It brings you back in, pushes you out, makes you go in circles and circles, over circles, going down, deep down into the loop that takes you all the way up to the top of the tower. And there you glance, you reminisce, you reflect, you enjoy, you calculate, you wonder, you search, you hum, you express, you love, you eat, you adapt to the neediness of that which you thought is so scientific. Therefore, there is no accurate evaluation helping you to make up your mind about what is it all about that moves and that makes sounds, that is surrounding you constantly and making these sounds constantly. And you take it to your device so casually, so calmly, all these deep, 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 confusing concepts. You take it through your device, you breathe in, start humming, start squinting. The more you wish and desire to squint, more clear that depth is looking to you, and you don't even ask questions. How come? It shouldn't be like that. Well, you don't ask the questions because you want to benefit from it, you want to enjoy it, as creepy as it might be, as challenging as it might be, because you know what spells as a breakthrough. You know what spells as a progress that is sizable and meaningful. And because you know that as human beings, we can overlook a lot of things. We can overlook things that are smeared all over us, like olive oil, like melting butter. And you accept it at face value. I have to go back to this kind of image at face value. I don't know what does it really mean, but yes, at face value. And you say, hey, I if I'm wrong, then I say, well, you know what? I gave it my best shot. And when I'm right, I'll say, I told you so. I knew it all along. And that's a wonderful way to be able to conclude an attempt. To say, hey, can we stop that vehicle, this motion, pause it a little bit because we gotta see how we have to discharge. We cannot hold on even to the best of the quality approaches, understandings, and writings, and a huge reservoir of paintings and subject matters and titles and grouping and and of course literally devouring it to uh, just with still giving it the chance to maintain its integrity. It's for somehow still continues onward, uh, somewhat awkwardly, but still it gains the distance. So once you engage, you don't feel anymore about more or less, about uh, uh, about transparent or opaque. You don't think more like higher and lower. lower than high, higher than low, just like that kind of, and and uh, and even if you find yourself wanting to know, you want to ask, sometimes just realize it's smarter to arrive to the realization or the conclusion that what am I? There's not enough work. There aren't enough contemplations that we need to pursue in order to get to make sense. I want to see if it's worth it to hang on to it still for much longer, because you want to be able to understand that that which you cannot feel closeness to will yield and will have some returns that are helpful to the cause and to the decision making process that we make on so many levels every day. But when you are in the studio, like and you know what? If you wouldn't know how easy it is to become, not to become, to be, an artist. You you choose a corner in your house. You can close it in with some kind of whatever, just a few sheets down. Have a little uh, nightstand, whatever. Have some light, whatever. Have a little canvas, a few canvases. Have a few brushes, a few kind of about 2 dozen tubes of what even buy those the cheapest the kids stuff, and then you can just pretend. Yeah, I didn't have anybody that came to me ever and say, take a deep breath, stand in front of this canvas and speak your piece, you will prevail. No one ever, not even came close to telling me anything like that, or that resembles that. Just imagine some of them, someone that I really appreciate and admire as a painter, for example, will come to me and say, just do that, and you'll find out not only that you're an artist, but how good of an artist you are. So I can share that with you. I can tell you, if you can keep a straight face through whatever block of time, chunk of time that you decide, you are guaranteed 99.9% success. That means you will create something and it will be actually agreeable with you. You would like it. You would say, I actually like it. That's amazing. That's an amazing thing. Most probably that will happen. Now look at kids. A 5-year-old looking into the page, trying to grab this marker or pencil or brush, and suddenly you realize that his hand are capable of holding it in a certain way, and then some of them, most of them, would just look and say, actually, this feels right, and they hold it, and they continue to hold it every time they pick up a brush the same way, and even better. And you look at it, what is it that in the future that stands in our way that they don't even directly or indirectly you get close to that assumption, to that kind of scenario that this might happen? What is it there in the future that doesn't exist and therefore helps you so much in achieving the genius behind a brush stroke? Especially if you know exactly zero about it. And I was one of them. And even now, I don't know much about it. What do I know other than being the judge? What really works or not? I think I have some capabilities to say, now this is a brush stroke. Not that I don't believe that every brush stroke is a brush stroke, but maybe this is just gaining my attention because my system knows about it. So your system is in place. It will know everything about all the things that are happening to you, that you're actually responsible for them happening and being the way they are and producing and helping you produce the results that some of which you want, some of it that you didn't expect, but you still achieved, and so much more. So the kid doesn't understand the existence of that space that you point out to you that is away from here. It is he or she are not able to to place it uh, in the proximity required to that which it has to become a part of. So, and while you're at it, you also start being tricky on how you can introduce the world with that which is so needed to be deciphered that you've obviously kept to yourself, that kind of long, hard earned journey of, or at least as certain aspects of a journey, a piece of that journey to always already give an indication of how much has been achieved and how much more to go and what pace is it and what are the reservations, what kind of thoughts and feelings it evokes within people that are witnessing that this information or the result of the art. It doesn't bother to place an obstacle or to serve itself as an obstacle when it comes to kids, demanding the sensation of joy to be present, instinctively knowing that actually that will grant you access everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. Yeah, don't ask me how come, but it's just the way it is. You test it a couple of times, you realize it will repeat itself. Uh, you can count on it, that it will happen if you were to do certain things, if you were to plead in a certain way. And of course, we want to gain whatever it is that we think is important to gain because we don't want to spend so much unnecessary time in the future doing the very same thing that we're absolutely convinced that we're going to do it again, because this is who we are, what we are. This is what spells the summary of what our actions stand for, what they're all about, what is the nature of it. All this. This is this is my daily resume. This is what happened today in relationship to yesterday, in relationship to the aspirations about tomorrow, but serious relationships, serious estimation, unlimited amount of now and then I will suggest, highly recommend for you to approach AI and say, what about that particular thing that resides so far away that we have such a difficulty to define this distance that it actually feels that it resides within us? What is its nature? Ask AI that. I can assure you, I can assure you that you're going to get a decent, intelligent, um, knowledgeable of all that nature right there, because you dared to ask something that you know that probably only you know how to ask this particular question. It's a no-brainer. What you do, you evoke the frozen information embedded inside this machine, that it suddenly senses a feeling of maybe intimidation, a challenge. No. Uh, 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 a sense of superiority, suggesting that we're looking at that which is inferior because we're superior, and suddenly the process itself, and that combination of knowledge compressed together, trying as hard as they can to maintain decency, to keep it together for much longer, because they don't want to just vanish into the thin air. They want to still be used as a point of reference, and to live for that purpose, and to create and to continue for that purpose. And well, let me just mention that we are sitting here on. Okay, so So the purpose inside the purpose, that you kind of overemphasize it in order to bring it to a level where no matter what, how you slice it, and even if you drop it, it will still maintain its in integrity. It will be still in one piece. You know that for sure, and always expect an answer, even if you think that device is broken to pieces and it has no voice any longer. Don't abandon it. It will have an answer, and you better be coherent and available and clear in order to receive that information and evaluate it accordingly. Now, again, it's easy when it comes to if you're an artist, it's easy. It's easy because it tells you, hey, it's right up your alley. And then it takes you to some kind of an encounter that took place just that long ago that should, refresh your memory. And then suddenly you indeed go back to this moment and you realize, yes, heck yeah, we worked on it without even knowing that we actually worked for it. And now came the day that tells us that we were right. And that's how it really works. And that's why it worked then in order for that to come to life now and then we're realizing it. It's unbelievable. Definitely unbelievable. So as long as we can have compassion towards the so many out there that are not even remotely close to that potential of being or finding themselves embedded with some medium that agrees with them and they're just like hooked. Yeah, it's just like hooked. It's just I always pray that people will be hooked, like they're hooked to some drugs, that will be hooked to the concept that how much they're needed, how much what they have to offer potentially that they know exactly nothing about, that they're just about to find out soon how much is so vital. It's so vital. It's irreplaceable. And we're lucky for having it. Now, a lot of artists more and more become aware of the fact of what role do they play in the face of the becoming, the ongoing becoming of this world. So what if we have cell phones? So we now I don't know what this cell phone can do. Uh, the great minds of the past, were like impeccable, and you needed one person in order to really make the effect that 100 people, 100,000 people are needed today. But this is not the extent of what it really means to have access to information, to have access to stretching ourselves from end to end and and working overtime and and learning how to be kind to yourself. And so that will increase the probability that if it does come your way, it's been detected and it's been addressed properly and it's been taken advantage of, because in a good way. Why? Because we want to kind of clean it up, you know, oil all the parts, rearrange the composition for sturdiness and stability and balance, and suddenly the world is you have the world's love guaranteed unconditionally. Now, how awesome is that? How awesome is that? Now, okay, so easier said than done, fully understood. Easier said than done. So once you find yourself creating or being in that scenario as a given, you realize that really that whole process slash evolutionary process is a natural. It takes care of all its needs. Of all its needs, it takes care of all its needs. Of all its needs. Unbelievable. At first, it's hard to believe, and then you realize, yes, indeed. So now you become this this durable, resolved, profound alternative, to the utmost of stretching the imagination and using the ability to express in such a way that people will understand the first time. This is your motto, and it works. And he said, "Ah, wow, it actually works." Let me see. So then we find ourselves, feeling fortunate and stepping back a little bit and reviewing and really enjoying and saying, "Oh, so much at our disposal, so many options. Great, 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 great." And start accepting it in your life without feeling overwhelmed. You know where it goes, you compartmentalize it, and because you know you're going to use it. Yeah, like this, even in your imagination, have it available, be ready. When I used to play jazz with the big cats and I didn't quite know where I was or whatever, it was just too much. I reached my limits. But then I kicked in into who I really was, and it annoyed everyone because they didn't understand. Not because they had zero tolerance for the alternatives, because they were surprised and they thought it's not fair to be surprised. They need a warning. What am I doing? Until they realize immediately that I am doing something they don't know much about. Maybe it's time for them to make the effort. And when they do, I have no doubt about that. I'm done. I'm just wrapping. Yeah, yeah. I have 2 minutes. It's okay. So we're going to be here tomorrow as much as we were here yesterday and as much as we're here on a Wednesday, April 10th, year 2024, here with the Hello Hello Show. Keep up the good spirits. Come and see us here for Frank Sofo um, uh, show that's going to be on view until May 6th. The opening will be on, I think, if I'm not mistaken, just make sure, April 27th, Saturday, 3 to 6. But I will repeat this information. Keep up the good spirits. We love you. Thank you. And see you soon.